shir is in Nishmas Normi Bas Hara B'Fraim Yehuda. We're approaching, and we're all sitting here, the Yontif of Pesach. The Yontif of Pesach is interesting that its introduction is different than all other Yom Tovim. Before Pesach, before the Yontif, there's a mitzvah of bringing a korban Pesach, which means in the time before the Jews left Mitzrayim, they were obligated to go along and still bring a korban. A korban, which means that bring an offering, every family has to bring an offering for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's called korban Pesach. It had a name, korban Pesach, which from that followed on that the Yontif was called Pesach. The question is, why did they have to go along and bring a korban before they left Mitzrayim? Imagine we're packing, going on holidays, and all ready to go, and all of a sudden, somebody, the Rav comes in and says, "I've got something very important to tell you. Can you all come to shul? I want to tell you it's a mitzvah. We've got something to do," which could wait very well till later. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to go along and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives a message? They have to bring a korban Pesach now, before they leave Egypt. Why? What for? Wait to, like all other mitzvahs, wait until Har Sinai. Wait for this is Har Sinai. There must be some very important message, and perhaps that we can learn for our Yontif also, because we have, and which we're going to say on Seder night, Chayav Adam Liris is Atzmai Kilu Yotzim Mitzrayim. When we're going to say all together, we have to feel when we're sitting by the Seder, we have to feel as if we are going in out of Egypt, and we are going out of Mitzrayim. Why do we have to have this feeling? And what is this feeling? What should we feel? I'm sitting in the Seder, and I should feel as if I'm going out of Egypt. What should I feel? What should it tell me? Now we know that the korban Pesach that we bought wasn't just a korban like any other korban. There were a few, what we say in English, a few strings attached. What strings were attached? Oh, this korban, which you had to go and bring, it has to be, it can't cook it. It can't be cooked. You can't break it in bones. Who cares? When I eat, sometimes I eat my chicken for a night, I have to break a bone. Well, why can't you break a bone? So the Chinuch asks, and not only that, if there was any member of the family who didn't have yet the bris milah, they can't go along and we can't bring a whole korban Pesach. We hope even this year that we still bring korban Pesach, which has to go on the same lines. What's all that got to do with the korban Pesach? Got to do with the Yontif? The interesting korban. And again, we don't find any other Yontif that precedes it with a korban, and called a korban sukkos, korban shvuos. What is all this about? Why? There was another mitzvah which they were told for the men. There's a mitzvah told that all had to go and have a bris milah. Again, the Mepharshim ask, is so important before they leave Mitzrayim to go along and have a bris milah. So all these questions get clear. What is exactly this korban about? What is this Pesach? Why all this before they left to Mitzrayim? And I think there's a nice little thought over here, something which we could take with us. There's a medrash. The medrash tells us that when they were leaving Mitzrayim, when at the end of all the makkos, when the whole story all came to a climax, when slowly the Egyptians were being wiped out, every nation has a sar. Every nation has a malach, which up in Shemaim, which represents that nation. The sar of Mitzrayim came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, "I don't understand you. I can't understand you. Why was our nation, so to speak, the Egyptians, wiped out completely? And the nation of the Jewish nation were not wiped out." We know very well. We say the Medrash says, "Halalu oiv David Zorim, halalu zorim." They served the idols. I don't want to say they went to church, but the Jews served those idols like we did. We're being wiped out, and the Jews are being left. It's not fair. What for? And it came with a very, very strong time to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a very, very important answer, which it perhaps is for us to take with. The answer is, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you make a big mistake. You're right, they served Avodah Zarah. Why did they serve Avodah Zarah? How come that the Jewish nation, who they belonged to me, and who went along to serve some stupid little idol, well, how come? The answer is, you, Egyptians, are at fault. You made them slaves. You depressed them. You oppressed them. You pushed them down. You took away their self-respect, their self-esteem. I'm a nothing. When a person is broken, they'll do anything. They don't think anymore, and therefore they just follow. They follow like we say in English, or I say in Yiddish, if we treat a person like a shmata, they are shmata. If we treat our children like shmatas, if you go treat anybody else like shmata, in your eyes become shmata. You treated them, you trod on them, you broke them, you hit them, you smoked them with everything possible, which broke their whole what they were living for. They had nothing to live for. Well, of course, so idols have idols. So, in other words, it's if that's what you treat it, it's the no tying against. That's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered the. HaKadosh Baruch Hu now is taking his nation back to himself. Taking this rose amongst the wild bushes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu now taking a Klal Yisrael. I can't take this Klal Yisrael. It's not for me. In such a status, we are now going to become the princess in the royal family, in the Mishkan, in the palace, and go along to all waiting this beautiful, what do you call it, the beautiful build-up of Matan Torah, where we're going to get married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this chasna that's going to take place. This is my color. This is the oppressed people, no self-esteem, looking down at them, everything's no good, everything's pessimistic, they've got nothing at all. I'm sorry, I can't do it. How do you build somebody up in life? How can you build somebody? You show them there are something. And says the Chiduch, the first thing is to show you've got a badge, so you are something. I'm something, I've got a badge. You know, I mean, the best example I can give you is there's somebody called President Biden. Have you heard of him? He's a man of Mokum, somebody called Mr. Trump. Yeah. Have you ever noticed them? They're going around with something over here. You know, next time look at the photo, see a little badge over here. What's that badge? It's the picture. It's their flag, a picture of their flag. We all know the American flag, right? Well, what's it? It's a prestige. Look what I belong to. I'm part of. I'm in charge of. I'm part of this organization, and you know the Americans are the country of the world. Right? So it gives a certain prestige and builds you up. I belong. I belong to something. I've got a badge over here that I'm carrying around with me all the time to remind me. Look who I belong to. I belong to go along to this family. Family Yisrael. I belong to who is our father of Inish B'Shemaim. I've been there. This is not an ordinary family. This is royalty. We're going to now become, going to make us into princesses. We're going to become something special. If we're going to something special, I'm going to give you the badge straight away. I'm not only giving you a badge straight away. I'm going to give you something else. Says the Chiduch. We can tell from the way a person, from eating, the way their life is, what style it is. Rabbi Shlomo Shadon always says, you want to just look at Esau, the way he was eating. You see what a low class. He didn't have time to sit down. He's standing there, and somebody else has to pour, no knives and forks, nothing. poured down into it. This informal, this no, sitting down at the table with knives and forks at a banquet with dignity to go along, says the chinuch. We can see somebody sitting down. Unfortunately, today in today's world, it become more and more informal. Everything, you pass by some restaurant quickly, so it's no, sit down at a table, a knife and fork, and go along. And the chinuch says that to go along and break a bone. Break a bone. Who breaks bones when they eat? A poor person who wants to get every little piece out. He can't afford anything. He'll break a bone. A rich person's got plenty. You're not going to break a bone to get a bit more meat out. It's something very small, but it makes an impression on the person. I've got to eat with dignity. No breaking. And to go along and it has to be roasted. Another string attachment has to be roasted. Roasting says the is the more nicer than cooking. So says the. I want to go along, and now before you leave Eva, before you go way out of its time, I can't take you until I lift you up. I'm going to help you lift you up. I'm going to show you are something. Well, I shmatish sit around the table. Yes, you're not shmata. You're something special. You're royalty. Sit down, and not only that, you have a family. In Mitzrayim, didn't know what family meant. Family is important. You sit around the table with all your family, and you sing together and eat together. Nobody gets up. And the halach that everybody is a member of the family. In case one person hasn't had a bris milah yet, you can't have the Pesach. Why? This is dignity, to go along to bear. You've got those two things before you leave Mitzrayim. And automatically, it's a different picture. You are something. And you go, which brings us to this idea that to remember that to go along, we're sitting at the Seder. We're also going to have a Seder. I'm saying Seder. We're not saying only Seder. It's a Seder when we lay the table beautifully. Everything like a royalty. It's going to, in halach it says it's going to be mamish like a king. You have to bring out your best and beautiful things to put on the Seder table. In Chazal says even if somebody asks you to look after something, a beautiful silver dish, you're allowed to take a silver dish and put it into your Seder table, that the place should look beautiful. You have to look as if your home is a palace. Your home is a palace. In fact, it says in Allah, one thing Allah says, you have to go along and lay your Seder table in the afternoon, Erev Pesach afternoon, like a royalty. You don't come to a chasna, you don't come to into Prince Charles III's a banquet at the last minute to lay the table. And it's laid beforehand. It's beautiful. When the Yidden all of a sudden saw this, all this, I'm getting a beautiful badge. I'm getting at the same time, I'm going to go along and I'm treated like a different person. You're treated like a different person. Their whole attitude changed. And now slowly you're going to build up. You needed 50 days to go along to build yourself completely up. But on the way up to go along. For that, we need all that. Remember the story coming to my mind, it's a story. This happened in London many, many years ago. There was somebody walking down, this happened to Stamford Hill. You may say it only happened to Stamford Hill. Somebody's walking in Stamford Hill, and towards him came 5 or 6 bandits. I don't know what we call them in English, yobbos. And one had a gun. It was at night in Stamford Hill, and he came up to him and said to him, "Man your life." A rich person, a very rich person, well-known rich person. Man your life. Of course, the person turned white. Who knows Shema Yisrael and my life? The person was a clever person, and he turns around to all of them, and he sees there, one of them was a tall boy. He says to him, "I know what you want. You're very nice. You know what you want. You want a good drink. You want a drink. I'm going to put the house. I'm going to get a drink." Takes out his purse and takes out 40, 50 pounds. "I'm putting you in charge. You're a good man, I see you are. And you go along, buy it for all of you I'm not ordering drink, the best drink you can get in the pub. Do me a favor. It's on the house. I'm going to get it. They thanked and went away. Story not finished. They went to drink. The next morning, this Yid went to shul, to Ben Shkoimel, to go along to Ben Shkoimel. It was Monday or Thursday. Thank the Baruch. He comes out of shul. Believe it or not, this tall fella's standing there. And he says to him, what are you doing here? Did you buy yourself a drink? Yes. I bought a drink. I've just come to give you back the change. We didn't need so much money. Isn't this? You're bringing me back the change. All your life been stealing, and you ask for life for money, and he come back. Yes, we had £7 change, and I want you to back. I can't understand you. She said, I'll tell you, you're treating me with a special, that I'm something. All my life I've been taught down. My parents don't want to know and everything. You treat me like a shemata, I've been treated like a nothing. I'm a nobody. You showed me, you spoke to me with a please and go and buy, and you appreciated it. You looked after me. I am something. I want to live up to that. And he gave back the money. What we see in our own life, with our own children, to go along, it's the way we treat them. We see, interesting, we see something very similar. You all know the story of the Meraglim coming back to report back how Edsal looks to all the Eden in the desert. We're waiting. We're going to Edsal. What's Edsal all about? We'll come back. The 12 Meraglim come back and wait for the reports. What's the report? The report is, you should know, it was very a depressing report. And the report said, Vania beinenu kechagovim, we were in our eyes like grasshoppers, v'chein, and so we were in the eyes of the people there, the giants, us like grasshoppers. In other words, we were in the eyes of those people in Edsal like nothing. They looked down at us, little grasshoppers. How did they know what those people were thinking? How did those 12 Shvatim know what the people at Edsal think about them? They went around, spoke to nobody, went quickly around, and came back. So they said something first. Vania beinenu first said, we were in our eyes like shmatas, like chagom, like little things. If that's what you think about yourself, that's what I don't think about me. If you've got no self-esteem for yourself, that's what you think. You look at yourself, I've got this problem, that problem, I think. We've all got problems. We've all got minus. In life, we have to look at what we have got. We've got beautiful things. Look at advantages, we've got this, got that. Each one of us got. We have disadvantages, we have problems. Everyone's got problems. There's no such thing. We're not malachim. We were born in this world with Yetzer Hara. We're malach. We're not malachim. Vania, we were in our eyes. If you look down at yourself as a shmata, you'll be that. We have to go along and build ourselves up. That's the Kotzker says. Kotzker says, of course, they look down themselves as nothings. Of course. I know my teacher always thinks of me as nothing. You think your teacher sometimes in school, children come back. Teacher says, I'm a nothing. You're nothing. I saw from Rabbi Boruch says, Rabbi Boruch brings down. He says, Yaakov, before he was nifter, Yaakov took all 12 children and put them around his bed. And he spoke to each one different. He gave brachos. Usually when somebody sits around the bed, on the last, you give a bracha, you give one bracha to everybody. You should all continue in a nice derech, and you should all build up families. One bracha. He turned to each one, and he gave each one their own bracha, each one their talents, each one showed what you are. Live what you are. To appreciate what you have. And in other words, giving them the self-esteem, I'm something, automatically, that's all I want of you, nothing else. Look at, see your advantage. Think of one general broker. Yes, Zvulun, I'm putting you in business. Yes, you're good business. You're a very good businessman. I can see you're a very good businessman. Go along, go to the ships, and go to the thing, and trade, and you look after you. Of course, with your money, you go and help somebody else. He built them up in what you are. No, you have a certain power, certain appreciate what you have, and the person appreciates and realize what they have. They give a certain self-esteem, and automatically I'm something. And you see just opposites, and you see a very, very similar first in chinuch. Vayehav Yosef, Vayehav Yaakov is Yosef. Yaakov had favoritism over here. He liked Yosef more than all other children. Dangerous, very dangerous. How could Yaakov? Yeah. Why? He went Zikunim. He was my youngest. Because the youngest, therefore you give it more. Says the Targum, Ben Chakim. He loved him because he was clever. That's going against all chinuch. Say the Mefarsha, beautiful. He wasn't clever. Yaakov made him clever. He showed him love. He built him up. You are something. You've got koach here, Yosef. You are something. You're Ben Zikunim, because the father showed him I'm something, and he loved him, and I want to learn with you. Oh, so that's how he became a Ben Chakim. That's how he became a clever boy. If we go and be positive, our children, our grandchildren, whatever it may be, we can be positive. You are something. You've got koachas. You're long. Build them up. Instead of saying you got this problem, that problem, build up the koach that they have, the power they have. Then they'll become something. We're always very negative. We're bringing down the shibud. We're bringing down all the time. Yeah, this and that, and like this, their self-esteem is we're putting down. We have to build up the self-esteem. When we sit down and show ourselves, look how lucky we are. We sit at the Seder, look who we are, look at the family we've got, we have something that builds us up. I'll tell you one more story on this vein. I heard this from somebody called Rabbi Twersky. I'm not sure now which one of the brothers of Rabbi Twersky. He had to go to a rehab in Eretz Yisrael. Now, rehab, in case you don't know what rehab, what there is, a rehab is for drug addicts, which is full of people who've been in prison. And he had to give a talk to them, to be chazik them, to go and give them a bit of inspiration. He came into this rehab. I don't know, it's the kind of hostel where he says there, where I don't know if hundreds of them or tens and tens of them sitting there, waiting to listen to him. So he said, I've come here to go along and to give you chizuk for self-esteem. I'm giving you a talk of self-esteem. As he starts to talk, a boy gets up. The boy is called Avi. He gets up, and Avi says, Rabbi, you're talking to me about self-esteem? You know who I am? So he said, no idea who you are. My name is Avi. From the age of 8, my parents pushed me down. Didn't want to know me. They treat me like a piece of nothing. I'm supposed to have a self-esteem. What are you talking about? You're wasting your time talking. Rabbi Twersky, when he heard those words, he almost got to walk out there. That's my how to talk to him. So You're right. And he turned to Avi and said, have you ever been to a jewelry shop? I haven't been to a shop, he said, but I've seen jewelry. I've stolen a lot of jewelry in my life. So you know what jewelry are. You know what jewelry is. What's jewelry? A beautiful diamond, polished diamond. How does this polished diamond, how's it, from the mine, it comes out. You go to the mine, look at the mine and see dirty, filthy stones, funny shapes. They take this diamond, they go along and they start shaping it. They bring it into professionals who know how to go along and shape it and do things with it to go along and look after it and polish it, to bring out the beauty of it. Then it comes out beautiful polished diamond. Do you know where you are in this rehab? They're doing also the polishing of diamonds. They're polishing in the shop. You've got a beautiful shop. It's there. It's covered with dirt. We're just going to remove the dirt here, and you'll see it become a beautiful polished diamond. That's what we're doing over here. Avi, don't worry. That's what we're doing. And he said, Avi, we're polishing your diamond. We're polishing your neshama. Avi sat down. A year later, Avi leaves the rehab. Avi, they found him a job. He still got his connection to the rehab, but he found a job in Israel underwater. Avi gets a phone call from the rehab. They keep the connection with and he said to Avi, this is the rehab calling. I need a favor of you. Yeah, what favor? Listen, we need old furniture. There's a family just rang up. They've got a few beds and a few things to go along. Can you bring them to our rehab? You got a car, a van, and no problem. Avi goes and fetches the furniture. As he's schlepping one of the beds up the stairs, an envelope falls out. Avi lifts up, opens the envelope, and inside $5,000, which was somebody hidden in the bed. Watching a person, Avi, all his, as he said to Tversky, all my life I've been nothing in and out of prison. That's all I've been. I've been pushed down as a nothing. I'm stealing, back in prison. And he's got an opportunity over here of $5,000. And he would go along and steal for $20. Avi takes the phone and rings up the rehab, tells him, what should I do? I've got over here 5,000. What? Avi, you found it? Yes, I've got it in my hand. And you're phoning us up? Anyway, we'll phone the family who gave the furniture. They phoned the family, and he said, I must tell you, it's one of the boys for the rehab who's been most of the time in prison, and he's the one that was so despoiled that they gave half the money, half of the dollars, gave towards the rehab. Avi, story not finished. Ari goes along and writes a letter to Rabbi Tversky. And he says to him, I was going to tell you what you've done, and what you said, here we polish diamonds. But this will happen now. I'm a changed person. I had the nisayon, and I appreciate what it means in normal life. He went back to rehab, this Avi, and he put a big notice on the notes board. Thank you, I'm a polished diamond. Rabbi Tversky came a few weeks later to give a thing, and he asked, and he signed Avi. He was crying. We've taken somebody from one end to another, from rock bottom, and made it there. What is that? That's from the Shibud Mitzrayim, the brought back to Har Sinai. We do exactly the same to ourselves. We sit at the Seder, everybody around us, all our family. What are we taking out? Chayev Odom Liris Atzma Kilyo. take out that. I'm also going out. I've also got to improve myself, my self-image, the way with my children, whatever it may be, with others. Always look up to others. Always going to appreciate others. We're so easy in remark against this Rob and this person, that person. To look up. Everybody's a something. Everybody's a diamond. If we look up like that, we've taken with a message, and that's a message which we had to get before Yetzias Mitzrayim. This. We had to get this back to our first question. All this Kom Pesach, which you don't find anywhere else. Here I had to, because the Baruch is taking us. He wants to put us onto our feet. Take this Kom Pesach before you leave. Before you leave, I'm going to give you something to go along and understand that this will go along and bring you near to Hasinai, near to Torah. You will do our mitzvahs much nicer if we appreciate what we are. And one more point, perhaps on this, we're all compared to stars. It says we're compared to stars. The beginning of the whole shibud is Rashi brings down the first Rashi in Shmois, that we are like kechovim, like stars. I'm sure in Shurim you heard many pshat like stars. And I saw one pshat, beautiful pshat. If you go outside now in the Cavendish Road, perhaps you look up, it's so dark here. It's so dark. I can't see anything. Look at the sky, it's so dark. Look a bit further. Wait a minute. Go a bit deeper. There's a twinkle of a light up there. And you look a bit more of that light, it gets brighter and brighter. We look at ourselves, perhaps sometimes it's dark. I'm God. But look deeper into ourselves, and we see we're all kechovim. There's something deep light in our shama, which we have to bring out about ourselves, our children, our neighbors, our friends, our partners, whatever it may be, to go along and to see the beauty, look deeper. That we're going sabbatically, it'll change our whole life. And that is the self-esteem that we can learn from Yetzias Mitzrayim. When I sit in the Seder and everything around the table is beautiful, this is prestige, this is covered, this is pride, this is what I belong to. I belong to such a nation, to such a family, to such a thing where you can't pay enough for it. Look, our way of life is different than what we see in the streets. That is the message we came from. I wanted to read the Halachos. I was asked to say someone to Halachos. I'll go state, we'll leave. We spoke about other year about B'digas Chometz, about getting rid of the Chometz. I'm talking about coming to the Seder. Just we should know what the mitzvahs are, what's going on the Seder night. Sometimes the ladies are not sure what's going on and they're missing. The first thing is that, as I mentioned beforehand, you must make sure that the whole Seder day table is laid early enough. One reason is, I mentioned beforehand, another reason is you shouldn't fall asleep. If it starts straight away, you start too late, then the children start falling asleep. Don't delay. To get straight away, start the Seder. You should all be prepared before Yom Tov. Because the main thing is the Gad Tzolabim. We're going to see one of the biggest mitzvahs to relate what's happened, as we said, to take the messages for ourselves, relate to our children. One of the things you put on the table is the Seder table, the Seder dish. Sometimes the ladies, I leave the order of the Seder dish, how it should be, to the men together. No, the lady should know what order is there on top on the Seder dish. How does it order? I don't know. So here, so there, that's something here. There's a special order brought in halacha. And when you're doing it on some Seder dishes, you're lucky. It's got the names there, names, so you're spoiled, right? Some haven't got the names. How are you supposed to do it? It's in halacha brought down. How are you supposed to do it? It's always there's a halacha which says you're not supposed to pass over and do a mitzvah over another mitzvah. First come, first served. It works like this. The first mitzvah, what's the first mitzvah I have at the night of Seder? The first one I'm going to do from on top of the Seder is carapas in the radishes, or whatever you use, which should be on the Seder dish. So the radishes should be in front. We're not going to go over moroi to get to the radishes. I'm putting to shame the moroi. You're not yet. I'll see deals you later. It's not nice. So halacha. Of course, all for us to learn how to deal with people. But that's the same with everything. When you take in the morning, I take my talis out my bag, my talis bag. I got my tefillin. I mustn't take the tefillin up first. I take the talis up first. Why? Because tefillin comes second. First, put the talis up. And everything we do, always make sure it goes in a certain order. So first is carapace, radishes or potato, whatever it is, and salt water. Behind, what's the next thing? Moroi and Halachos. It's the next. There's no matzah. Matzah's behind there is the bone and the egg. That's how you have to go and make the Seder. I must say that in case anybody's from Chabad here, they've got they're different, but this is the order brought down based on Allah. What mitzvahs? You go and sit down. I've got how many mitzvahs go here tonight? How many mitzvahs are going to have tonight? Seder night has 5 mitzvahs. Now let's work out together. What are my 5? You said beforehand. Tonight I'm going to become 5 mitzvahs. I want to make Shechionu. I have to have in mind. Shechionu goes in all 5 mitzvahs. What are my 5 mitzvahs? 2 of them are min Torah. The Torah says I have to do them, and 3 of them are midrabanan. Which are min Torah? Which was it? Pardon? I'm sorry, you said too much. Yeah. More, leave it alone. Since matzah is min Torah. Not more. You see to why. What else is min Torah? Matzah. Pardon? To go and tell the Agoda is, ladies, by the way, I'm a chuyev in everything like men. Now you're right, it's mitzvahs it's restricted to time. So why ladies the time? Because like in a loisaseh, like on Chometz, the ladies are there on Pesach, so they get everything goes. Oh, it's a package, everything goes together. So ladies have to keep all the mitzvahs of Seder nights of the thing. So all these mitzvahs we're going to mention now are for ladies also. So again, we got over here min Torah, we got Levilcha, and matzah. Matzah, because matzah's got its own pasuk, but erev Torah matzah by itself, without even that moroi, matzah is a mitzvah. So tonight, that's one of the main mitzvahs is going to be matzah. I'll come on to in a minute how much is about matzah. So we've got matzah, and now the drabonons are first of all what are called the 3 drabonons. Abakaisis, mitzvah. If you have to drink 4 cups of wine, season wine. Now moroi is only drabonon. Why is moroi only drabonon? Because moroi b'emes is written by the Korban Pesach. Al matzos u'mororim yechlu. We should eat the Korban Pesach with matzah moroi. We have no Pesach. So today in Golus, we have no Korban Pesach. We're going to be Korban Pesach. And therefore, the moroi part is the rabbanon. Now, matzah, you be asked me, it's matzah morim. But there's an extra pasuk, which says by itself, you have to go and have matzahs. So matzahs is min Torah, and why I'm telling you this, sometimes for cholim, and I don't discuss cholim at this shir because when we can no end to it to go along. But somebody who's not well or very difficult, it's much easier for in moroi. And in how much moroi, and how much then one's matzah is min Torah, and the last one is the last mitzvah is when sometimes unfortunately people are already dozing off, and it's halal, mitzvah halal, and each one gets its own cup, right? Each one gets its own cup. You got the one is for Kiddush, the first cup of wine is because you have Kiddush. Why do you have 4 cups of wine? Oh, we put on a posel, galti, lakachti, go nice psukim. But why do you have 4 cups of wine? What for? So the one is for Kiddush. So that's the first one. Then we pour the next one out. When we speak simply time, it should be on the coast. When we talk about the Kiddush one of the 10 cup already. So I'm supposed to, that's why before Manishtana, we pull out the next case. Then when I speak about and relate and I say, Agoda, it should be on a case. So I have to have a case. That's number two. I have to have number three. Number three is big samazon, bench on a case. Pardon? No, how's the main? No, the only two. We split halal because that's got to do with Siyas Mitzrayim, so we put it beforehand. Yeah, but yeah. That's not the halal. Halal afterwards, the main part of halal with all the other hills, all that. That's all part of halal. Thank you, Nishmas. Thank you, what we got. It's all that. So we got one is for Kiddush, one is for Yitzias Mitzrayim, for specific Yitzias Mitzrayim, one is for benching, and one is for halal. So remember why I'm going to have four. You said to the Seder, what's all this about? I know exactly what it's about. Each one's got a reasons. So I've got all these mitzvahs which I have to go and do. But night, you and for mothers to go along, make sure the children who understand about Siyas Mitzrayim should also be given a case and all that thing. How much you have to drink. And when it starts to how much you drink, the ladies get a bit worried. First of all, I want to tell you very clearly, you do not have to have wine. You can have grape juice. In fact, the Briskerov and the Stipler, the Chadnish, they couldn't take it. That's the grape juice. Nothing wrong with taking grape juice. How much you have to go drink? Now, I'll tell you how much you drink. You should try and drink about 150 cc, which is the Gamati of Kais, 150 cc. But I want to say make it easy for you, and I bought it within my pockets. Thing over here. This is 90 cc. You don't have to drink as much of this. 86 cc is a Chaim Nord, his thing, which is about here. Something like that amount. Measure 86. Want to know how to measure? Want to know? Take a baby's bottle, pour it into a cup. Look back about 86 there. Pour in there. You'll see comes to. Of course, it has to be full. You have to make a cup about this amount. That's all.
Better to have a smaller cup.
No, no. I'm going to come. You have to go and have a small. You have to have it full. It must be molly. Yeah, it must be full. Kind of just a bottom of a cup. It's not so nice, is it? So you got to be. How much? That is revius according to Reb Chaim Nor. Just remember the Chaim Nor. That's revius, and that's quite okay. Nothing wrong at all. You to the mitzvah, proper mitzvah, with Rabban, okay, but the proper mitzvah, no problem at all. If you can't drink, if possible, you should drink the whole lot. Sorry. If possible, you should drink the whole lot. If possible, if you can't drink the whole lot, just a roiv kos, most enough. Roiv kos enough. That's okay. So I've told you exactly how much you have to go and drink. Is it not? If you want to drink more, there's nothing. But you should go. How quick should you drink it? The emes, you should drink it just in two lots. It's got to be drunk. Kadesh dias revius. How do you drink a cold drink? It shouldn't do it in one because it looks like it's not nice to drink in one go. So you should drink. Although you shouldn't drink it three, it looks like too posh. So you go along and drink it two. Like same thing. O's and two, whatever you drink, O's and two. Just in other words, a little gap in between, and then it should be done very, very quick. Even if you're not well, or you find it very difficult, you have somebody at home find it difficult, not more than 2 minutes. Not more than 2 minutes. That is on the. So in other words, a minimum pause in between, and you go along the pen. Matzah. I don't make it difficult for you. I don't know what you have. What kind of matzahs? If you have a matzah which is hand baked matzahs, or you have machine made matzahs, I'm sure of all types, and I have measured them over the years. Matzahs, I can tell you. If you're having, I'm not going to give you the very big shear. I'll give you the chazdish was not so big. If you're having a baked matzah, these hand kolamias, let's say these kolamias matzahs, between a quarter and a third of matzah is ample for the gzais. Between a quarter and a third, I measured it. A quarter and a third is enough. Not I'm not saying not, but there are big shuim.
You've got 10 people, so you need 10 numbers.
So, yeah, it's always like that. So, yeah, and Seder. Well, Danny was put a whole lot in between.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's impossible. You've got a big Seder, many people who haven't got their own Seder dish. Impossible to give for one matzah that all of them should have a kazayas. So you have to have a few to go along in there. So take from the side. I'll go into it. No time for that now. If you've got a machine baked matzah, I'm talking about the Israeli machine, not from Rakuzens. For that is about 2/3 of matzah. 2/3 of all the square matzahs, about 2/3 is a kazayas. That you have to eat within 2 minutes. You should eat in 2 minutes. Ladies usually do not lean, right? Unless you have your minig. If it's your minig to lean, then you lean. But generally, the Mashmur says that ladies don't lean, but there are ladies who have the minig to lean. And if you do lean, you lean to the left. Even if you are a left-hand person, you lean to the left. And as you lean, you'll be told how to go lean, and you eat the whole thing leaning within 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes. Again, as I say, that's about 2/3 is gzais. If anybody has rakuzens which are very small, the matzahs are very small, you have to have a whole matzah of rakuzens to go along and be able to the mitzvah of gzais. So so the women also to go along to have all this matzah, moroi, and the. How many matzahs do we have to have? Ksesim, one at the beginning, so at the beginning after you wash your hands, one for korech when you together the moroi, and one for avikomen. Right? At least 3 ksesim. Right? You may be told at home about 2, each one is 2. I'm not going to go up. At least you have to know 3 ksesim. You have to have enough for 3 times matzah, or that amount of matzah. And of course, you have to be very careful, not eat too much during the meal, that you have enough space in yourself to go along and put the third matzah after the meal, after koma. That is all, and I'll leave the other thing to say. Now I'm going to say just one point still about Erev Pesach. You do get a lot of phone calls, people asking what you're allowed to do, you're not allowed to do on Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach afternoon is a yontif. It's only it's only a yontif. It's a time of the Korban Pesach, and therefore some halachos already apply. It's very similar to the halachos of Chol Hamoed. Chatzos this year, to get clear, is 1:12, 12 minutes past 1. The same Chatzos is for the same night. 12 minutes past 1 is Chatzos. After Chatzos, you should be cleaning should be done. All washing should be done before that time. Ladies, those I don't know why those. It's a few minutes after. I haven't done the washing. Can I still do it? It should be done before 1:12. If you only remember it's 10 past 1, that's I've still got a load in the wash machine I have to do. You put the wash machine on. Possibly say that you can do, since it's a washing machine and you're just pressing a button, so to go along, you do your washing. In other words, the last wash, if you didn't manage to go and do it, you need it, so for you need it, you can go along, and although it's going to go into the time of after Chatzos, you go press the button and go along. So possibly not. So it's something cooler. Can I iron? Do any ironing? And the answer is, after Chatzos, you're allowed to iron anything necessary for Yom Tov. Any clothing which we need for Yom Tov, so some ironing, not necessary for Yom Tov, the Mishmur you're allowed to go and do. Sewing, can you go along and sew? You're allowed to go along and sew buttons and hem fell down. For new sewing, that's not allowed. But anything needed for Yontif, like as I say, like to hem that. Now that's a split, something a split, and then sew back together again. That is mutter, because that's called Cirque Yontif. But new things, even Cirque Yontif to make a new dress, that's not for them. No, I shouldn't do. Nails, cut your nails. Interesting, for some reason or other, everybody needs the last minutes. You know, we got a whole week to go cutting nails, and ask, can I cut my nails? You know, still, can you cut the nails? The answer is you can cut the nails. Yeah, you cut even after chatzos. You should do beforehand, but the nails are more makeup because see, even chalamoid is much more colored than nails than you're getting. And haircuts, we can't cut one's hair after chatzos. For a goy, the Eved is mutter. Means a goyish barber. Eating erev chatzos, eating on erev Pesach. Of course, you can't have any matzahs, no matzahs. And can I have matzah cake? I won't go into the kind of cakes you make. But can I have cake? Some of you may make cakes made out of matzah meal or what they're doing, which is not cooked again. It's just matzah meal and make it and put together with honey, I don't know, with the thing, and make a nice cake out of it, that you may not have after, not have Erev Pesach. Because that's, the Eved, I could be Yitzhak Matzah still hasn't lost its name Matzah. Knedlach, Knedlach is, that you're allowed to have. Although it's made of matzah meal, that's cooked already, and I can't be Yitzhak Matzah with it all. So the Knedlach, I'm allowed to go and you can have proper. No, you have to have a proper meal. You have to have a proper meal after it says because it says man come Pesach and it says like Yom Tov. But you have to remember not to wash your hands for Motzi. You can't wash your hands Motzi. You wash your hands. No, people make that mistake. Of course, once asleep. Ladies in Haggadah, a pastor should say, you have to go a mitzvah saying Haggadah. Sometimes ladies go out and this, or children, or something have to go out, and I don't say ladies fall asleep. I don't say that. That's the. But you have to say Haggadah. At least you have to have said, at least said the Makkas and Rabbi Gamliel Pesach Matzah Moreh. That you have to say thing that it's on you said Haggadah. That is the main part of the Haggadah. Pesach Matzah Moreh and the Samakas you make sure you're there for and you say it. You say you have to go out. You say it by yourself before you come to the next case, because the cases has to be said on a sequence, a certain pattern, and you have to have said that Haggadah in between, and you have to say the main part of Haggadah in between. We're living in a time of disposables. You know, don't use saucepans anymore. Everything's getting disposables. Now, if you're using disposables, now you can get them with a hechsher. The shaila is, do you have to go along and tow them? So Moshe Feinstein says that's if you use it once or twice, up twice, right, 3 times, you don't have to tow it because you can throw it away. It hasn't got its importance, chashivas. So you got a disposable. I can use it now. I use it again, perhaps, and then I'm going to throw it away. I can use it. Don't have to tow it. But it's for Pesach, it's got a bedatz hechsher on it. You can buy it with bedatz hechsher. The ones that come from Israel, bedatz hechsher, you can use it as long as you want because they've all been tables. Yeah. No. It's sorry. It's all been made by a yid. And therefore, but that's right, don't open it. It's all done by, it's a Jewish person makes it. And therefore, even if you want to use for longer, it doesn't matter at all. You're going to use eggs. That's what I say. It's not chumrah. I've got many minhagim. I'm just going 1 or 2 there. Eggs should be washed before you use them. Reason being, just think where the eggs come from. Anybody's been to a farm, and you see all the chametz lying around the farm, and the chicken doesn't ask questions. Oh, it's Pesach, I better put it in a corner somewhere. No, it shouldn't come chametz. In other words, the eggs are lying in chametz. And therefore, how can you use it? Put it in your Pesach sauce for boiling hot. So So I'm not calling it a chumrah, it's almost a must. Once you go along, wash the eggs just beforehand, and you look very carefully, sometimes stuck to it, we don't know what's stuck. Wash the eggs beforehand in cold water, to get with soap after, just to get rid of anything from the farm.
Rabbi Duna, can I just say that most of the eggs today are from
I know, are not free-range eggs, battery eggs, yeah. About those eggs, those chickens are also fed there. They're not starving.
I see what you mean.
You see.
Thank you.
Right. Now, just one more thing I'm going to do. Eitzah. I know we've gone on. Just the freezer. You put things in the freezer. Eitzah, good eitzah, starting now to go along. Clean your freezer and start balaking. Start putting papers and plastics in the freezer. Put things in. Just put everything we put in the freezer double wrapped. And when you take it out from one wrap is a third away. And you don't have to do anything in your freezer. After clean, of course, for Pesach, and you checked it, and it's clean. Just don't cover your freezer. It's all inside. Double wrap all your things inside, which is very easy. Take an extra bag, put it in, and when you take it out from the freezer and you want to put this thing down on the working top, remove the outer bag, and it's a machaya. You don't have to it saves you hours, and very often it doesn't stick properly, and it's very hard to go and ballet. I remember at home, we go along, we take curtains and put this there and that there, everything falls down in the middle of the don't bother at all. Just go along, double wrap everything, put an extra bag after everything, and you won't have to go along and one more. Sorry, I wanted to ask a question. Yeah, the ink. So Dine West time was the opinion that if it was any comments, it evaporated beforehand. He came up with this idea that if there is chametz, we want it over here that has got on the spirit, and spirit could be made from chametz. That you're asking, yeah. That spirit, he was the opinion that it's evaporated, and therefore after saying there's only a mark left. The mark that's left is not from the spirit anymore. But in the message time wash, and I think that they've worked out that today we have to check out. Every year is different. If the stempel is chametz or not. Last year it was the most eggs on the market were not didn't have it all, didn't have the stempel at all. You have to check every year. You have to check it up. What if it's one more point for comments. Excuse me. One more thing. All bottles and matzah should be open for Pesach. Because if you don't open for Pesach, you got big problems of making a keli, you're in a rush and thing, and every single by the Seder, you open a bottle and making a lid, that could be a proper proper soon. So all packets, and you want to open the packets normally. If you open them on Pesach, your matzahs in a box, you can't open it properly. You have to go along, you cut down the side and the top, and it makes a mess and thing. Have somebody to go along, I don't know who this Mr. Somebody is, to go along and open all the packets and bottles before Pesach. It's only to help you to go along. And if all this done before Pesach, you sit down at leisure, calmly at the Seder, and things done for you. Sorry, yeah.
Do you wash the eggs
under the tap? No. What we do is take the tray, have the tap on, and wash them all on the tap.
You mean into the Pesach, you can see.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all cold, yeah. Okay, I wish you all a very kosher Pesach. And right, pleasure.